My grandmother, Clara, believed in three things with unwavering certainty: the healing power of a Vicks VaporUp-slathered chest, the infallibility of her pot roast recipe, and the eventual inevitable arrival of the Publishers Clearinghouse Prize Patrol at her modest front door. For as long as I can remember, that dream was the shimmering Technicolor backdrop to her otherwise quiet Bajan brown world. Before I tell you her story, if you have a story of your own or want to learn how to protect the people you love, please consider subscribing to the Elder Scam Stories channel and let us know in the comments where you're reading this from. The mail-in entries, filled out with her neat, looping cursive, were a weekly ritual, a small investment of hope sent out into the universe. She would watch the commercials, her eyes wide with a childlike wonder that decades of hardship had failed to extinguish. She'd see the balloons, the oversized check, the stunned, tearful faces of the winners, and she'd pat the arm of her floral print armchair and say, "That'll be me one day, Mark. You'll see. We'll fix the roof, and you can finally get that new car." To me, a cynical 20-something, it was a harmless fantasy, a sort of lottery for people who still used land. It was a sweet, slightly sad quirk that defined a part of her I loved. I never imagined that this gentle dream would become the weapon used to destroy her. The call came on a Tuesday. I was at her house fixing a leaky faucet under her kitchen sink, my knuckles scraped and my patience wearing thin. The phone rang, a shrill, insistent sound from the living room. She shuffled to answer it, her voice a little breathless, the way it always was when she had to hurry. "Hello?" I heard the murmur of a man's voice on the other end. I was only half listening, focused on the stubborn compression nut in my hand. Then I heard a sound that made me drop my wrench with a clatter. It was a gasp, followed by a shaky, whispered, "Oh my goodness, are you serious?" I slid out from under the sink, wiping grease on my jeans. She was standing, ramrod straight, her free hand pressed to her chest, her knuckles white. Her eyes, usually a soft, cloudy blue, were wide and sharp with disbelief. Yes, it is," she stammered into the receiver. "Clara May Abernathy, that's me." She listened for a long moment, her expression shifting from shock to pure, unadulterated ecstasy, a light I hadn't seen in years. A light I associated with old photographs of her as a young woman flickered on behind her eyes. She started to cry, silent tears tracking through the fine powder on her cheeks. $2.5 million, she whispered, her voice cracking. Then, louder to me, Mark, it happened. I won Publishers Clearinghouse." My first thought was a cold, immediate spike of skepticism. "Grandma, who is this?" I mouthed, walking toward her. She waved me away, completely absorbed, and a new car. A Mercedes-Benz. Oh Lord, have mercy. The man on the phone, she would later tell me, was named David Sayer. He was the Senior Vice President of Notifications. His voice was smooth, professional, and radiated a calm authority. He congratulated her profusely. He told her she was their grand prize winner, selected from millions of entrants. He called her Mrs. Abernathy and spoke with a practiced reverence, as if he were bestowing a sacred honor. He had her. In less than 3 minutes, he had her completely. He explained that the prize patrol, including the famous Dave Sayer, he made a little joke about their similar names. A folksy touch to build rapport was scheduled to be in our state in 2 days. On Thursday, they would arrive at her house at 10 a.m. sharp with the balloons, the cameras, the champagne, and the oversized check for $2.5 million. I took the phone from her trembling hand. "Hello? Who is this, please?" The voice that answered was polished and patient. "Good afternoon, sir. This is David Sayer with the Publishers Clearinghouse Winter Services Department. I have the distinct pleasure of speaking with the grandson of our newest multimillionaire, Mrs. Clara Abernathy." He sounded so legitimate, so real. My wall of skepticism developed a crack. "How do we know this is real?" I asked, the question sounding flimsy even to my own ears. "An excellent and responsible question," he said smoothly. "Your grandmother's official prize number is 775-WIN. You can see it on the documents we have on file. For security purposes, I cannot give you more information over the phone, but I assure you, this is 100% legitimate. We just need to finalize a few small details to ensure the delivery on Thursday goes off without a hitch." That was the first hook. The small details. He explained that because the prize was so substantial, there was a mandatory state processing fee and a tax liability that had to be handled before the prize could be released. It was a legal requirement, he said, something to do with the IRS. The amount was $1,500. He was very clear. This was not a fee to PCH. This was a government tax that they were required to collect on behalf of the state. He said they could take it out of the winnings, of course, but that would delay the prize delivery by 6 to 8 weeks while the paperwork was processed. If she wanted the prize patrol to show up on Thursday, the fee needed to be paid up front. My gut screamed, scam. I started to voice my objection, but my grandmother, her face aglow, took the phone back. Of course, she said. Whatever you need, we can get that taken care of right away. When she hung up, she was a different person. The quiet, careful woman who counted coupons and worried about the price of eggs was gone. In her place was a lottery winner, a magnate. She was floating. Grandma, I started, trying to be gentle. You can't send them money. That's how these scams work. The real PCH would never ask for money. She looked at me with a flash of indignation. Mark, did you hear him? It's not for them. It's for the taxes. It makes perfect sense. And we have to do it if we want them here on Thursday. Do you want to wait 2 months? I don't. I want to fix this roof now. Hope is a powerful drug, and my grandmother was an addict. She had been taking small hits for 40 years, and now someone had just offered her an mainline dose. My rational arguments were meaningless against the sheer, overwhelming power of a lifelong dream made real. She saw the new roof, the fixed porch steps, a future free from financial worry. I saw a red flag the size of a billboard. The instructions from Mr. Sayer were specific. She was to go to her bank, withdraw the $1,500 in cash, and then go to a CVS or Walgreens to purchase 3 $500 gift cards. They had to be vanilla, Visa, or Green Dot cards. Then, she was to call him back and read him the numbers on the back of the cards. He explained this was a secure voucher system the IRS used for immediate payments to avoid the delay of checks or wire transfers. Gift cards, Grandma, I pleaded. The IRS does not use gift cards. Nobody does. This is a scam. Begging you, you don't understand, Mark, she said, her voice firm. She had put on her church hat voice, the one that meant the discussion was over. He explained it all. It's a new system. It's faster. Now, are you going to drive me to the bank, or do I have to call a cab? I drove her. I felt like a traitor to my own common sense. But what was I to do? Physically restrain her? She was an adult. And a small, treacherous part of my mind whispered, what if it's real? What if you're the one who ruins this for her? At the bank, the young teller raised an eyebrow at the cash withdrawal. Is everything okay, Mrs. Abernathy? My grandmother, coached by her new best friend David Sayer, had a story ready. Yes, dear, just helping my grandson with a down payment on a car. She smiled and patted my arm, a gesture that felt like a betrayal. I stood there, mute and miserable. We went to CVS. As she stood at the counter buying 3 gift cards, I felt sick. The cashier, a teenager with tired eyes, didn't even blink. I wanted to scream, don't you see what's happening? Stop her! But I couldn't. I was paralyzed by my love for her and her unshakable faith in the lie. Back at her house, she made the call. I listened from the kitchen as she meticulously read the long series of numbers from the back of each card. There was a pause. Then, I heard her say, wonderful. So, we'll see you Thursday at 10. She hung up, beaming. It's all set, she announced. He said the payment was received and confirmed. The prize patrol is officially on the schedule. For the next 24 hours, our house was a strange mix of her unbridled joy and my suffocating dread. She made a list of how she would spend the money. A donation to her church, a trust fund for me, a trip to Hawaii, which she'd always dreamed of. She hummed as she dusted a jaunty, carefree tune. I, on the other hand, felt a pit of ice in my stomach. I spent the night researching PCH scams online. The stories were identical to ours, right down to the gift cards. I tried to show her. Look, Grandma, this is what they do. This is their exact method. She glanced at the screen and waved it away. Oh, honey, the internet is full of negativity. Our prize number is official. Mr. Sayer was very clear about that. The next call came on Wednesday afternoon. It was David Sayer again. There was a problem. A small complication, he called it. His voice was graver this time, more serious. "Clara," he said, and the shift from Mrs. Abernathy to her first name was a calculated move, creating a false sense of intimacy. "We've hit a snag with the bank transfer, because the amount is over $1 million. There's an international transfer insurance policy that needs to be activated. The bank that underwrites our prizes is based in Canada. You see, the fee for this insurance was $5,000. This, I thought, would be the breaking point. This is where she would finally see the lie. But I had underestimated the depth of the illusion. "But I don't have $5,000, David," she said, her voice trembling. "I know, Clara, I know," he soothed. "And believe me, I argued with the board about this. It's just red tape. But here's the good news. Our company has agreed to reimburse you for this fee. As soon as the prize patrol arrives, they will have a separate check for you for $5,000 on top of your grand prize. So you're not losing a penny. We just need to get this covered so the armored car can be dispatched with your check." It was a brilliant, evil piece of psychological jujitsu. The fee was no longer an expense. It was a temporary deposit, an investment that would be returned in less than 24 hours. "I don't know," she stammered. "Clara," he said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "I'm not supposed to do this, but I'm putting my own job on the line for you. I'm going to hold the prize patrol team here, but I can only hold them until 5 o'clock today. If we don't get this sorted, the prize legally has to go to the first runner-up, a man in California. Do you want a man in California to get your new Mercedes, Clara?" The threat of loss is a far more powerful motivator than the promise of gain. She was no longer reaching for a prize. She was clinging to it, terrified it would be snatched from her grasp. She hung up the phone, her face pale. She looked at me, her eyes pleading. "Mark, I have to. It's the last step," he promised. "Grandma, no. Please, let's call the real Publishers Clearinghouse. Let's call the police." "No," she snapped, with a ferocity that stunned. "Me, no police." David said not to tell anyone. He said family members get jealous and try to interfere. He said telling anyone could void the prize. "Are you trying to void my prize, Mark?" The scammer had turned me into the enemy. I was the obstacle, the doubter standing in the way of her dream. The next few hours were a blur of desperation. She called her bank to see if she could get a loan. They denied her. She didn't have the income. She called her credit card company to ask for a cash advance. She was already near her limit. Finally, she turned to me, her eyes full of tears. "Mark, I know you have some savings. It's just for one day." He said they'd bring a check for it. "You'll have it back tomorrow. I swear on your grandfather's grave." That was the moment the dream died for me, replaced by a cold, hard rage. Rage at this faceless voice on the phone, this parasite who was telling my sweet, trusting grandmother to drain her own grandson's savings account. "No, Grandma," I said, my voice shaking with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. "I won't give you the money, because there is no David Sayer. There is no prize. There is no Mercedes. There is just a thief on the other end of the phone, and he is robbing you." She collapsed into her armchair as if her strings had been cut. She started to sob. Not the happy tears of Tuesday, but the racking, hopeless sobs of a broken heart. "You're wrong," she choked out. "You're wrong. He was so nice." I took her phone. I looked up the official real number for Publishers Clearinghouse and dialed it, putting it on speaker. A polite, professional woman answered. "Hello," I said, my voice thick. "My grandmother, Clara Abernathy, received a call saying she won your grand prize. Her prize number is 775WIN. Can you confirm this?" The woman's voice was gentle but firm, and it was practiced. The voice of someone who has had this conversation 1,000 times before. "I'm so sorry, sir," she said. "Publishers Clearinghouse never ever notifies its major prize winners by phone, email, or social media. We always show up in person by surprise, and we would absolutely never, under any circumstances, ask for a fee, a tax, or any kind of payment to receive a prize. I'm afraid your grandmother has been targeted by a scam." The silence in the room was absolute. It was heavier than any sound I have ever heard. I looked at my grandmother. The light in her eyes was gone. In its place was a vast, empty darkness. She looked small and fragile, 100 years old. The vibrant, joyful woman from 2 days ago had vanished, and I wasn't sure if I would ever see her again. She didn't speak for the rest of the day. The phone rang a few more times. I could see the caller ID, private number. It was him. I answered once. "Is Clara there?" The smooth voice asked. "She knows it's a scam," I said, my voice low and full of venom. "You're a monster. Leave her alone." "Sir, there seems to be a misunderstanding," he began, but I hung up. He called back twice more, then stopped. Thursday morning came and went. 10 a.m. passed in silence. No balloons, no cameras, no oversized check. The only thing that arrived was the mail, which contained, by a stroke of cruel irony, a new Publishers Clearinghouse entry form. I threw it in the trash before she could see it. The aftermath was worse than the scam itself. It wasn't just the $1,500 she lost, though that was a significant blow to her fixed income. It was the shame. She was consumed by it. She felt foolish, stupid, and humiliated. She, who had been so careful with her money her whole life, had thrown it away on a lie. She stopped talking about the prize patrol. She stopped filling out the entries. The commercials, when they came on, would cause her to flinch, and she would quickly change the channel. The scammer didn't just steal her money. He stole her dream. He took that one little piece of technicolor, hope, and crushed it into dust, leaving her world in monochrome. She became more withdrawn, more suspicious. A part of her beautiful, trusting spirit had been amputated, and the phantom limb ached with regret. We reported it, of course, to the FTC, to the local police. They were sympathetic, but pessimistic. The money was gone, vanished into the untraceable ether of gift cards. The scammer was likely overseas, using a ghost number, a ghost name, a ghost of a human being preying on the lonely and the hopeful. It took even longer for me to forgive myself for not stopping her sooner, for being a passive participant in her financial and emotional ruin. We got through it, but the scars remain. The story of the time Grandma won the lottery is a quiet, painful chapter in our family history. It's a story about a lie, yes, but it's also a story about the devastating power of hope when it's twisted into a weapon. It's a reminder that the most dangerous thieves aren't the ones who break down your door. They're the ones who call you on the phone, offer you the world, and exploit the simple, beautiful, human desire to believe that sometimes the good guys really do win.